extends beyond national borders, as he is also a respected figure in the Pacific region for his contributions to the field of cybersecurity. He holds the position of managing partner at WebSafe, a cybersecurity firm dedicated to safeguarding digital assets. He also serves as the chief technical consultant at ByteWatchers Samoa, an innovative AI startup. Suetena's commitment to these roles highlights his dedication to leveraging technology for progress and security in Samoa and the wider Pacific community. If we could have a round of applause for him, please. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Ashutosh Akhilesh Maharaj, a senior instructor in the Information Technology Department of Fiji National University's National Training and Productivity Center. He holds a master's degree in Information Technology from the University of Fiji and has accumulated extensive experience in IT education and program development. He has held key roles such as Director of Studies at the Australian Institute of Business Intelligence and IT Development Officer at Fiji National University. His professional expertise spans over teaching, curriculum development, research, and consultancy in IT, contributing to various sectors within IT and beyond. He also has strong analytical skills, also a Microsoft certified BI data analyst, and quite a lot of other things. Okay, so thank you very much. So I'd like to, once again, I'd like us to extend a warm welcome to the two gentlemen. Okay, for me, this is continuation of some conversation because we've also had Suetena in the last PAC IGF and the one before that. Okay, so if we could maybe go to your slide first. Yes. So gentlemen, you have 7 to 10 minutes for your PowerPoints, and then we will move on to the panel discussion.
So good morning and talo falawa and kia ora, and thank you for, I would like to thank New Zealand for inviting me, as well as the PAC IGF team to present on this platform. So my name is Suetena Faatuuala Loia. I hold a couple of hats. So I'm also a CETA member, so this is the Samoan Information Technology Association, so a lot of the collaboration that happens within the domestic area in terms of IT community support is through CETA in Samoa, so thank you CETA for the opportunity. So these are some of the organization I do some of the my work in. ByteWatchers Samoa is a AI startup. We're building a chatbot that's learning from information within Samoa's context. And we're piloting it on the information that we have on government websites and e-commerce solutions. I also work for WebSafe. So WebSafe is a cybersecurity firm working in the domestic area of Samoa, as well as partnering with other Pacific countries and partners in terms of business to build the cyber resilience for Samoa and the Pacific. We do need a lot of help, and hence why in 2019, a group of Pacific enthusiasts in cybersecurity were building a group that was invitation only. And this group is known as SecPac, which is Cybersecurity Pacific. It is a group that's only by invitation, so we don't have any websites, we don't have any platforms that we promote our existence on. This is the first time we've come out of the woodworks, and to show that we are here, that there is specific talent that are working in the background. So we work on a concept that we like to call in the Pacific the coconut wireless, right? So if you know what coconut wireless is person to person. As in routing, it's peering on the technology level. So you only know us when you find us, and you only connect when we recommend you. So we would like to introduce SecPac to the floor and also introduce TechPack to the Pacific IGF. And we're here to help. We're here to do what you do and share common grounds in terms of how we can collaborate. So why is the internet important to us? Why resilient? Why does it matter? Many years ago, internet to the Pacific was a luxury. But now it's no longer a luxury. It's a necessity. It's part of our lives. We live by it. Without it, we have no access to information. Where do we go to in terms of hospital or medical care or pharmaceutical products? How do we know what products are good for us? Where do we find those products? The internet has given the Pacific the door to find knowledge, find access, look for things that couldn't be found locally, and ask for it on the internet. So it's becoming part of our lives, and because it's becoming part of our lives, it becomes a tool for those threat actors out there to try to leverage on our vulnerabilities. So we see a lot of things that are coming to us in terms of misinformation, disinformation. You've seen a lot of those during COVID. You've seen a lot of those during a lot of the mass media propaganda that's out there. Social media is changing rapidly. We've also heard about AI. We've also heard about all these new tools that are coming to the Pacific. And because we have internet, we become that target. And we will become victims of them if we don't prepare, if we don't plan. Yesterday, I heard a lot about why were some things failing, why were some things successful. It's because we didn't have the information. We couldn't plan because we didn't have the knowledge to plan. So I think in this new era, we have internet, we have access to plan. We have access to resources and information pools that we couldn't have access many years ago. So the Pacific is totally a different Pacific that you saw many years ago. So how does internet resilience and cybersecurity come together? Cybersecurity is about protection. It's about defense. It's about mitigating the factors that bring forth threats. It's about finding out what is out there and how do you prevent them before something happens. Usually in cybersecurity, we always call out the 5 nines, 999.999% that it can be secure. The other 1%, you only need one incident to break a system. While protectors, blue teams, and cybersecurity analysts find the holes and try to block them, they're blocking thousands and thousands and even millions of things one day, in a day. But it only takes one hole to actually penetrate any system. And no one is immune to this because systems are designed by humans, built by humans, and hopefully, if we can remove the humans, we remove the vulnerability, right? But we can't. Humans continue to produce, continue to grow dominions on the earth, and continue to flourish as we were created to be, to manage and to look after the resources. Internet resilience is really about availability. And if you're in cybersecurity, you hear about the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So internet resilience is the last two: availability and integrity. If your cache power goes off, if your power goes off, maybe the connections that you need that powerful won't be available. So for cybersecurity, we need to defend. For internet resilience, it needs to be available. So these are the pillars that bring these two together. We do need to share the responsibility. As Pacific Nation, we are very little. But if we work together, if we help one another, this relationship in terms of building a stronger and better internet, in terms of resilience, becomes more adherent to what we do every day. So sharing our responsibility in terms of investment. We've heard about we need funding. We've heard about how do we collaborate? How do we share the weight? How do we find common ground to bring together different resources from different expertise, from different areas in the Pacific, whether it be technical, non-technical, policy-wise, legal-wise, and so forth, right? Looking at academia, how do we prepare for the future, planning for the academic roadmaps? These are some of the questions that we're still trying to look for answers for today. We will get there, we just need to be together. It only takes one thread to break every other thing that you have. Most times we protect the front doors, but we never protect the windows. We never look at where are the loopholes that things can come through on. So looking at the Pacific, these are some of the common threats that we see. Phishing. There are many forms of phishing. There's smishing, SMS phishing. There is vishing, voice solicitation via your phones. I think everyone in the Pacific has a little bit of experience in terms of this. Someone calling you from somewhere and say, we're Microsoft. Do you have a problem with your license? Would you like a license? We can give you a free version. But what they're really installing, is it Microsoft? Or is it a backdoor? Or is it a crypto bot? Are they using your resources without you knowing? So these are some of the ways that phishing have been hitting our Pacific Islands. Malware. Malware is prevalent in the Pacific because we don't buy antiviruses. When you buy your laptops, other companies that sell these laptops or this technology also providing security products that protect you. Are you asking, can you install antivirus? Are there policies in your governments to say that antiviruses need to be procured as an accessory to the technologies that you have? Ransomware. I think ransomware is one of the dangerous elements out there. Pacifics can't handle ransomware because usually when ransomware happens, it's a whole reloading of a system. Sometimes we question where the backups are. Sometimes if we do have backups, we're lucky. But if we don't, basically we're sitting ducks and maybe history and data has lost in terms of those things. The fundamentals, we're still looking for ways to provide sustainable power. In the Pacific, we still suffer from remote power outages. We also suffer from availability of power sources. Some families run off generators. Still, power hasn't been getting to them. And that becomes a problem in terms of communication as well. Unstable internet. We've heard from many people that in the Pacific, we don't have stable internet because the connections that need to go out to the rural area and the remote public is not there. And now, hence why we're looking for solution in satellite. The cost of security protection software. We can't afford security protection software because most of them are quite expensive for the Pacific. How do we deal with marginalized groups like us? Because cost of antiviruses are quite high, and most average families don't afford them. And then the cost of infrastructure. Most times when we look at infrastructure, we're only looking at the communication towers. But how did that communication tower get there? You needed to train engineers in road, train engineers in finding ways to get those roads into those locations, and then buying the lands that those roads and those deployment need to go on. Those are some of the problems and challenges that communication has, is how do we buy those and together provide influence for internet and infrastructure. So on a personal note, I think if you look at this picture, our ancestors knew how to provide resilience. This is a double canoe. And if you looked at the vast ocean we had, you don't want to be in that ocean once it's got swells that are quite high. So they built double canoes to counter that kind of situation. So it is in our blood for resilience. You have double sails. One sail will go down, you can run, but not so long. So in cybersecurity, these are some of the important things that we're preaching. Strong passwords. I think passwords is a human problem because strong passwords account for memory. We need to memorize long strings of characters, and that becomes a problem. And so two-factor authentication is the next solution. But that is also another problem because you need to carry a device with you. So if you have only one device, if you lose that device, your whole digital life that's been protected by that one key is now lost, and you need to buy another one, re-authenticate, and the re-authentication process takes time. Software updates, lack of proper software conditioning and software pricing, we don't have the time to update. Internet, the cost of internet also becomes a problem. You want to use the internet to do your work, but you have a vulnerable software that you need to update. That costs money. Safe browsing habits, most of us don't practice safe browsing habits because there are features like incognito mode inside your browsers, but who uses them? Only the techies does, only the geeks, only those who are very paranoid that maybe their governments, maybe their companies, maybe their partners are looking at something that they don't want them to look at. The redundancy power supplies, we don't have a lot of those. And if you're running from fuel power, if that fuel becomes high in cost, you will have a problem in terms of trying to get that power to run properly. Then secondary internet links. Most of us, we are happy with submarine cables, but we want more. We want reliability. We want accessibility. We want to have internet everywhere we go. So we're looking at satellites. So how can we work together? In the Pacific, it's always been about strengthening numbers. We are a communal people. We do things together. If you go to any island in the Pacific, you'll find that we have no fences in the remote areas. This is because of the communal factors. We share things. For example, one day you don't have salt, you go to your neighbor, can I have some salt? Cybersecurity doesn't encourage sharing. And that's the problem because it's within our culture to share. But now we need to restructure how we think. Are we sharing to the trusted people? Are we sharing to a network that where if we give you something that you'll not compromise ourselves? Encouraging the community elements, right? In terms of our awareness programs, our people want to learn, but they don't know where to go because of lack of awareness programs. We need more awareness programs, and because we need more, we need support, and we need people who can fund those support. One of the things that I believe can work in the Pacific is establishing community digital hubs. This is where they can learn, this is where they can find out information, this is where information can be distributed, and this is where they can revive lifelong learning, just like what some of the universities in the Pacific are moving towards. It's not just about knowing the information, it's about constantly finding out what's new. The importance of school, businesses, and organizations within the community. They can do a lot more. Like every SIM card that you sell, do you put security notices on? Every phone that you give out, are there procedures that you tell them how to install things that give them protection? The school that you go to, do you provide programs or trainings that assist in terms of cybersecurity and so forth? And then building a safe and secure atmosphere. Sometimes security can shun people. Sometimes in the Pacific, it's one of the cultural things that if you don't know a lot, you don't tend to raise questions, you don't tend to voice your opinion because you might be shunned, but why don't you not know? Why haven't you learned? So these are some of the things that we need to break. We need to allow people to share their opinions, to share their voices, to show what they don't know, to make mistakes and fix those mistakes. And this is where we come with an atmosphere of safety. It's okay to have problems, but let's learn from our problems. So how do we do it? What can we do? We need to work together, starting from governments. What can the government do to help the communities? What can the community do to assist the government in terms of perspective? Then looking at other organizations like non-for-profit organizations, online forums, offline forums, community forums, and then different community groups that we can look at. The initiative in terms of working both public and private, and the collaboration of those two elements. And the need to make the voice of the Pacific people heard. Usually in our trainings, we ask our participants to give their voice. So we customize the training towards what their needs are, what they want to know, what they need to know.
Suetena, my apologies. We just have 30 seconds to round up, please.
Okay, so last comment. So we're using AI as well in terms of delivering training. This is small bite training. So we're using a platform called DevSafe Cybersecurity. So this is it's powered by AI. And then these are some of the smart strategies that we should do. Educate our users, implement risk management, redundancy and failover strategies, regular updates and patches, both on the human level and on the systems level, incident response planning, promoting cultural and security, and the collaboration of information sharing across the region. Then call for action, we need to be secure, we need to be smart about our security, and we need to work together. And then the last question is, who is accountable for the resilience of the internet? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we can continue with that conversation, of course, lots of interesting things. Now over to you, Ashutosh.
Good morning. Sorry, I'll be as fast as I can. Okay. So basically, while we're getting these slides on, my presentation is on effective business continuity, planning, and the role of ICT in DRP. So business continuity, as we know, was the... Okay. BCP, I think it was one of the fancy words that came into light when we had COVID. Okay, specifically in Fiji, most of the organizations, they were running around and trying to say, okay, we need to get a BCP plan, okay? Most of them, they did not even know what a BCP was. Okay, it's a business continuity plan, which organization needs to have their businesses going in terms of if there's a disaster, okay, or it's a pandemic. And I think thanks to COVID, most of the organizations, they were able to create a BCP, okay? And in the Pacific Islands, it's a must. We need to have a BCP, we need to have a DRP. Okay, from my understanding, we need to get a BCP plan done properly, and from there we can have a good disaster recovery plan. Okay. Some of the components of BCP, okay, we have risk assessment. I believe I will not elaborate much on this. Okay, we all knowledgeable on what strategies we need to apply, what risk assessments we need to do. Pacific Islands, we are more affected by climate change. So when we are creating our DRP plan, our BCP, all these things should be tailored into, okay? What the risk is, how much cyclones are we getting, where we need to set up our server rooms, okay? It should be in the first floor, the ground floor, or on top, right? These are the things that we need to plan through. Your business impact analysis, your strategy development, planning and implementation. Okay, testing is very, very vital. Okay, I think a good example I would take is the Tonga, the volcano eruption that happened, right? They were like cut off from the world. And most of the Pacific Island nations, we are just connected through a cable under the sea, okay? So yeah. So as we can see, it is very critical to have these things, okay? It enables communication. No communications, you are cut, okay? There's nothing you can do, okay? The other thing that we keep on telling, okay, is data backup. In terms of if something happens, you are able to, how quick you're able to get to your backup, how quick you're able to get your backups, get your systems running, okay? And it's very good to do these tests, okay? Just this morning, I don't know if we had this 2 a.m. Fire drill or was it real fire, okay? But these things are important, okay? So that we know if there is a COVID 3.0 coming up, how are we going to do things, right? So some of the strategies you can implement is your data backup and redundancy. Okay, I think most of the organizations, they keep on doing it. It's a plan they have. Okay, cloud-based solutions. I'm very much impressed. I think in the Pacific Islands we're more now shifting to the cloud. Okay, it's a very good thing. And the other thing is cybersecurity. Okay, protecting IT systems and ensuring that you have a okay, so case study and that wanted to do is FNU. Okay, I'm just taking from my organizations what we did. Okay, so we do have this BCP plan in place. This was, I think, developed just after COVID happened, where we needed to do a lot of online teaching. Okay, how communications would happen, how we are going to communicate with students, how the staff are going to communicate with each other. Okay, so we did have a nice and beautiful plan in place that we are using now. So if COVID happens, if something happens tomorrow, the university is ready for that. And I would like to thank Sala, my colleague, for making this slide for me. Challenges, okay, yeah, we have resource limitations, okay, inadequate training, the organizational resistance, where they do not want to adapt these things, okay, especially the higher, the executives, okay. Firstly, I think the major problem here is that we create a plan and it goes to a non-IT person to approve or disapprove. So, and they look at figures. Okay, okay, I can save this much money here, it's okay. But when there is something goes wrong, okay, in terms of just saving that 1 million, you lose a lot. Okay, so that's one of the things that's a major challenge, I believe, for us. Right. So yeah. So I think that's the end of my presentation. I wanted to keep it quite simple. For Fiji, I would say I think most of Google things they have started to happen. So across, we were mostly reliant on the Southern Cross cable. Now we have, I think Google is coming up with a cable. We're coming up with the Google data center in Fiji. They have announced. So hopefully we are, as a nation, we are trying to get more are ready to disaster. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Does anybody have a question? Please kindly line up to the mic. And as the first audience is making his way, I would like to extend a warmest Vinaka Vakalevu to Jim Tora for being one of the first speakers on DRP at the National Conference on IT, and he was one of the pioneer speakers for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Swaran. Bulvanaka, Chairman. Jim Tora from That's It. My question is more for both of you, and I guess for you in the audience who've been at these forums for many years, and also with the speakers prior to you. One of the challenges we have in the Pacific is influencing leaders or those that make key decision makers. And we've been down this road before where we have so many subject matter experts in the industry, in IT, cybersecurity, and with the, I guess, post-COVID and the brain drain. How can we as subject matter experts in your areas and to Suetena's presentation work together, reinforce our community to ensure that some of these key areas of concern is addressed with the right people. In Fiji, I can say, for example, we do not have the right subject matter people making decisions around technology, around cybersecurity. We've had breaches, best practice, good governance. So how can we work together to ensure that when we're coming to these forums, next year or another forum next month, that some of the outtakes that we have in these presentations actually moves up to someone that will actually take some action. And I've been coming to these forums, and we can only do so much. But you probably see all the stuff I've been posting online and pushing those buttons, trying to have meetings with ministerial members. And it's come to the stage now where I'm now here in New Zealand, working with some work with the New Zealand government. So I guess I'm putting it to you both and the floor is, what can we do as next steps for the next IGF to make some concrete impact? Thank you. Sorry for the long statement.
Thank you, Jim. I think this is a great question. First, I think we need more awareness for the community, the people. If we can get people to understand the concern of cybersecurity, the concern of cyber safety for online users, they can be the voice to their constituencies. And from there, if they understand that online security is actually the same as the physical security that they have at home, the doors, the locks, the security system that they have, they can voice their concern to their politicians. And then the other thing is working with the media to manage the narrative, because one of the things that we still see in the Pacific is the fear of reporting. We need to design policy and standards that encourage safe reporting, that you are not criticized when you speak out of an incident that happened in your office, in your community or in your organization. And then from regional partners, we need to also encourage the vocalization of cybersecurity. I was quite happy to see that one of the topics in the Pacific forums was cybersecurity. It is a concern. It is a ticking bomb for our leaders. Sometimes our leaders usually say that it's not our problem, let that next generation have that problem. But it is a problem now, we need to address that. Because it is our kids who will face those problems. And if they're not well, if we don't prepare them, basically we haven't done our jobs as good citizens, good parentings, and we need to encourage the donor partners to see that we are more vulnerable than they see us. And because our leaders are not well informed, we need to inform them, and then structures in which partnerships are built around building cybersecurity heroes and digital heroes, and that leadership role is very important because we need digital heroes that can drive it, and that comes from the top. We can do our work at the bottom, but if our voices are never considered, and that's where the heroes need to consider those voices. I think my colleague here will add on to that notion.
Yeah, thank you. I think thank you, Jim, for that question. I think what we as a university have started to doing is we've started giving free awareness courses where students can just join in and start getting that awareness program. And I think with Tejashri is there, we have also started working with the Online Safety Commission in providing trainings. Okay, I know the challenge is there. I mean, we work with the industries so much that the higher people, they do not want to invest much on IT, but they rely on IT. The truth is that, okay, IT has the biggest budget, so why should I be giving them more money, right? But that is the change that we need to put, okay, for the CEOs, for the decision makers, that, okay, if you are relying that much, you need to invest. And some of them, they don't want to even budge. We have experiences where senior leaders, okay, I mean, if they have made their mind, then, I mean, it's very difficult to change for them because they're just looking at the profit side of things. So yeah, Fiji, I think there's still lots to be done in terms of that and changing the mindset, specifically the policymakers in the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Let's move on to the next question.
Just a question on, you have touched a little bit on the way of life, the culture, and how it affects cybersecurity. From yesterday, I think the first panelists yesterday, they were asking what is transformation, what is the definition of transformation. While looking ahead, trying to enhance and build cybersecurity in the Pacific, and especially in AI, can the Pacific preserve its culture? And you rightly mentioned that we are known to be a very trusting people. We care about each other rather than for security. Can cybersecurity be in such a way that we can still maintain that cultural identity in the Pacific other than changing it to fit the technology?
So in terms of the cultural changes and the norms that are transitioning into redefined ones, I think culture will only exist when the people are there. So to sustain our cultural values, I think technology and the internet can amplify our voices with the existence of the resources that are out there to sustain our traditional ways of living. It is by choice that we change. So we need to also encourage traditional values with the use of technology. And I think there are pros and cons. There are goods, there are the bad, and then there are the ugly when we consider technology with culture. But as for the Pacific, we've survived many pandemics. We've survived a lot of different incidents in our existence, but we are very resilient people. We grow out of them. COVID has surely shown that we were the first to actually respond in terms of shutting our borders and protecting our people. And we will do it again in terms of the digital elements that we have. We are very adaptive, and I think we just need to be who we are, and that existence will also exist online and on the platforms that we have.
Yes, just a follow-up on that. This question is open to anyone that can answer. Can we, while working towards enhancing technology through AI or cybersecurity in what development that we are planning, can we make sure that we preserve our Pacific Island culture and not change it a lot so that we put it in a risk of losing our culture for the purpose of technology development? Can we make sure that, are we able to do that in?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, yes, we can. Okay, because the problem with I think the Pacific side is we are not digitally educating our citizens. Okay, and the line has to be there that okay, we need to preserve our culture. Okay, there's one, and the other perspective is that the cybersecurity has a serious threat to the economy. Okay, so I mean that is what we need to do more. I think awareness, and we need to separate that. For me, like sharing passwords. Okay, I mean in the house everybody would be knowing a password, like in the Pacific community, right? But we need to tell them, okay, that's awareness is something that we need to enhance more on that, so to preserve that.
If I may,
Yes.
just to add a little bit of perspective to what Save has said about our culture, indigenous knowledge. If we look at the if we look at the current practices on climate change and what efforts we are having, we are making sure that we adding this element of indigenous knowledge into solving issues related to the climate change. When we look at the resilience, we look at the mitigating factors, we are ensuring that all the practices which our foreparents had, we're trying to use them. Whether we talk about the giant swamp taro, or we're looking at how we are preserving the mangroves, in the olden days. I think these things will work, will continue to work, provided we are able to use them into our new ICT packages. So I felt that's one way we are preserving and actually highlighting the knowledge from the Pacific. That was one. But going back to what Tora was saying, I felt that this is something quite important, which I believe this particular society and organization can take it up to, especially the Pacific Island leaders. When we say that we want to solve the issue of digital literacy, digital divide, we want to try to make sure that everybody knows about cybersecurity. We have new programs. And I was discussing with the Tongan Vice Chancellor for the Tongan National University as well. We are actually investing in the same solutions. And basically, we are duplicating and replicating our efforts. Ashutosh was saying that we have got a certain OER in, let's say, digital literacy. USP is doing the same. Tongan University is doing the same. So we are actually not diversifying. We are just using the same money for the same solution. And I felt if we are able to work together, then we will not actually rely on so much handout funds from here and there. Again, I was talking to Andrew and I said, there's lots of calls, proposals outside for funding. Let's have a new youth wing that can look into this sort of funding. Let's talk to our universities so that they can combine and not have the same degree programs. So this is just something to say, sorry.
Thank you, Professor. I think what I just want to add, that, I think we should not be working as Fiji, Samoa, or Solomons. Okay, we should be working as Pacific. That is what we need to work on, because Pacific, the major challenge that we have is connectivity. I think Starlink is coming up, but still, connectivity is one. Next is we have digital literacy. Without that, we can't have digital transformation. So it's a long way through. I mean, some of the villages, they don't even have electricity yet. Forget about getting internet, right? So yeah, I think we as Pacific, we need to start working together and not working in silos. Thank you.
Thank you. One final one, please.
Thank you for this very interesting presentation that we had. I think I just wanted to add that I think some of us here represent governments. And I think initiatives like this, we need the support of the governments in the Pacific. I think it needs to go as far as the Pacific Island Forum, if that can be. If some of us here, in these roles where we can connect there, then I think it is important to take these discussions further. Thank you.
Sorry, this one. Please. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. My question is my name is Lenora Leota, and I'm from Blue Wave Wireless. We deploy currently and I'm from Samoa. We deploy currently Pacific satellite dishes to the rural remote areas of Samoa to provide connectivity, and now we have also deployed Starlink just recently within the past month. So my question is for Suetena. Since we've now made it possible to have this resource in the rural areas of Samoa, we've gone ahead and provided digital computers for the people in the community. My question to you is, are you currently working with a group in Samoa or any of the ministries there to bring about this awareness in the fringes of the community, especially in rural, unserved, underserved areas? Because now a resource is available. So are you providing cybersecurity awareness, or can you in your capacity?
Yeah, so there are a couple of projects that WaveSafe is conducting. One of them is called Smart Island, and in Smart Island we're encouraging digital transformation. The purpose of Smart Island is to provide services to remote locations that have trouble accessing services that are on the main islands. So facilitating things like digital payments, using online platforms, as well as the connectivity elements. So there are many parts that are in play. First, you're looking at connectivity itself. That's the primary focus, because you cannot have the apps without the infrastructures. So usually when we look at an app, we think it's a simple software, but that software, there's a whole infrastructure behind it. And when you're looking at what that infrastructure needs, you're looking at redundancy, fault tolerance, quality of services, but you're only seeing the interface, the UI that you have. So we're working with communities in the smart island space. We're also doing work in terms of digital villages. How do we get the villages to provide their products on online platforms like social media? How do you build social media pages that produce your product? How do you market that product so that you can only get maybe 5 seconds of someone's viewing, and what information can you elaborate in terms of that 5 seconds? TikTok and all these other short videos that we have, marketing needs to be taught to the villages in terms of how much skills do you need to produce and what information do you need to have, because you only have a limited time. So these are some of the things that at WebSafe we're trying to work with. We've also worked with the government in terms of areas such as data governance. And like the previous comments from my colleague here, we need to work together in data governance because we need to break down the data silos that are within the organizations or departments of government or even the private sector. How do we manage that whole sea of data, then work together in terms of non-duplication? Because we are duplicating, every sector is duplicating systems, duplicating storage, and we need to find ways to economically bring those elements together for a more shared approach, a more financially feasible approach in terms of limited resources. So I think that's what we're trying to deliver in terms of the context of Samoa. Recently, we've been hired by a collaboration between the Samoan government and the New Zealand government to educate the business community on cyber safety.
Suetena, my apologies again. I think that'll have to be it for today. Of course, there's wonderful conversations. Gentlemen, you might want to ask that question later. Sorry about that. I believe we also have a question online, but I would like to strongly urge you to take that conversation over to coffee, or better still, around the cover bowl. Okay, so we have been told that morning tea is almost over, so we just like to make some final comments. Thank you very much for being such a wonderful audience. And before we finish off this conversation, remember we can have all the talk fest we like, but what we need to finish off today, what we need to leave with is affirmative action. So if this also means that we've got lots of donor agencies, lots of good conversations happening, the fact that we went beyond time means a lot is actually happening. Right? So it's time that we bring all these initiatives, perhaps under to the RTI app, if Professor Sharma could also pledge his support in this now, at this point in time. So we could get all the initiatives under the RTI app so that we have one portal where all the initiatives are listed and you have a pool of people to assist each other. In having said that, we still need to firmly believe in the spirit of multi-stakeholderism, and we need to really stop the chronic problem of working in silos. With that, a big vinaka vakalevu for being such an audience, such an awesome audience. Thank you to our speakers and our participants online. Morning tea is served and almost over, so let's go get it.
Thank you, everyone, for coming back to our next session. Our next session is session 7, and this is an interesting one. We're going to divide you guys into 6 groups.